Fellow Singaporeans, thank you very much for joining us tonight, especially under this very wet condition. Totally unpredicted, and that's why you see that things can change very suddenly. But so long as we stay united as one people, things can change, rain, hurricane, tsunami, we will be all right. I have actually prepared a very long speech, but it is now very difficult to deliver in these suboptimal conditions. So instead, let me speak from the heart. We are now into the 7th day of the campaign. And the last 7 days, my GRC team, 5 of us, we go all out to try to reach out to every family, every apartment. The whole GRC is a very big GRC. Altogether, we have 700 HDB apartments and a few hundred private properties. But we make a target. We want to go to every family and to get your support, a strong mandate for our program. I know some parties said, this is relics, old-style campaigning, old-fashioned, outdated. My group doesn't think that way. All right, we are outdated, we are relic, so what? My own family background and our own Asian values is we must show respect to the people. To give as an example, if you have a wedding in a family, when you have to invite your families and friends, what do? For us, we knock on every family that you intend to invite so that you can hand over the wedding invitation card to them. You don't just go and sit in the aircon room and through internet and email or SMS and invite your guests, right? And for me personally, the last 7 days, I have already covered 90 HDB blocks and a few hundred houses in the Jalan Kemuning area. But another 50 blocks to go. The last time I did the same thing, and we nearly covered the whole area, but because really there are too many blocks, but more than 80-90%. This time round, with better experience, we are improving on our speed. The only difference for me is I am now a heart bypass patient. In fact, tomorrow will be exactly 1 year after my heart bypass. When I told my doctors about my plan to visit every block, they were quite concerned. They say, "Are you sure you want to do this?" But I said, "No, I think this is the right thing to do." And so far, so good. In fact, I felt my fitness was fully restored. But instead, I think age has caught on with me, a different kind of problem. The first 3 days, I was doing very well, 17 blocks a day. But on day 4, I think it's my fault, I changed a pair of shoes and a pair of socks. And I was walking in Kemuning area one afternoon. And Kemuning area, up and down the hill. And after that little tour, blisters appeared on the foot. So it's very painful. But day 5, day 6, I push on. Yes, it's painful. Like the Chinese say, 痛在脚底，甜在心头。And the reason is, so many families these are like personal friends now. And they knew about the bypass. And many asked, 部长，你真的要这样做是对的吗？你身体可以支持到吗？ In my Facebook, I read many such comments. And I'm truly grateful to all of you. So this GE is slightly different from the last GE. But a few things remain the same. And we have been walking the estates for the last 5 years, often 2 or 3 times in each place. And as I said, these are personal friends. And we trade stories, experiences of how things have changed since the last GE. Many families took out their old photographs, which we took at the last walkabout. And many were able to share with me their personal stories, mostly happy stories. Oh, my daughter is married now, finally. My son is married now. And all my grandchildren have now graduated from kindergarten into primary school, or some bigger ones, they have now entered universities. And some have gone overseas to work. And in fact, there were several, and they said, May 7, they won't be here. They can't vote. What to do? So we explained to them the various procedures and so on. But there were also sad stories, not that many. Some are quite memorable. I remember one Chinese lady, and she too took out a photograph. I shook hands and took photograph with the family, including her husband. At that time, the husband was bubbly. I think that time they looked like late 40s, early 50s. And then she started crying. She said, the hubby, 2 years ago, had a stroke, a very severe stroke. So reduced him now to completely vegetative state. The Chinese say 植物人. And in fact, I saw him lying in the lounge sofa. Doesn't know what is going on around him. Because I'm health minister, I pay particular attention to many of these anecdotes and stories and experiences of our residents. Over this 7 days period, I must have met thousands of families. Although I've been walking the estates the last 5 years, but the intensity of visiting these thousands of families in this very short period of 7 days gave me a very good sense of how our healthcare system is affecting them and how they are going through the experience of our healthcare sector. A few memorable examples. I'll just share some of them with you. I met one taxi driver. I remember him because 4 or 5 years ago, I nagged him. He did not believe in MediShield. I said, no, MediShield is important. It's like an umbrella for a rainy day. Must buy insurance. at least get basic MediShield. Fortunately, he took my advice. So this time when I saw him during the campaign walkabout, he said he was hospitalized just not too long ago. Accident, Khoo Teck Puat Hospital. Stay a few days, so a few $1,000 because he stayed in ICU. So even though class B2, heavily subsidized, but he said, luckily there's MediShield. Then I asked him, well, are you still saving regularly to your MediSave? Then sheepishly he told me, yeah, he is. But with IR's business has gone up as a taxi driver, 20% he said. I think it's more like 30%. So his income has gone up. Like rightly, he should also raise his MediSave contribution. But he continued to underreport. So I told him that, MediSave, 5% interest rate. Don't miss out on that 5%. Better save as much as you can. On the other hand, I met another taxi driver, and he complained to me bitterly. He says, terrible, this LTA refused to renew my taxi license. So I said, why? Then he said, well, I've not been contributing to MediSave for more than 2 years, so they want to punish me. So I said, I wanted to explain to him why it is good for him to save for the rainy day. But he was in such an agitated mood. He was not in the mood to listen to long explanation. So I just say, well, after GE, come to my MPS. Then I met another adult woman staying in our new rental block, severely disabled and handicapped. Congenitally, she was born that way. Very poor quality of life, and she was all confined to a very old, rickety wheelchair. So I make a mental note of her address. After GE, I'll get in contact with NTUC Elder Care, because recently we launched a $10 million mobility fund. I think that fund will now come in handy to buy a much better wheelchair for her so that her quality of life can improve. I remember another lady that I met in this campaign walkabout, very fine lady, Chinese lady, with a very educationally subnormal younger brother. The brother now has passed 40 years old, so a big man now, not a small boy. I remember her because they have come to my MPS before. We have helped them with financial assistance. She looked that she has aged more than 5 years. Why? The whole caregiver stress of looking after an adult who is totally dependent on her. But a sense of duty, looking after your loved one by yourself, a great sacrifice to herself. I think she is a wonderful lady. And so these various anecdotes of the residents that I met just during the last few days, I think reaffirmed to me that I think our healthcare system is not bad. I'll be the first one to admit it's not perfect, but I think overall it's not bad. We have developed a very unique MediSave, MediShield, MediFund 3M system, which I think is coping well for most of the patients. In fact, I met one lady. Immediately she opened the door, saw me, she said, I'll vote for you. So I said, why? Then she said, no, you have done many good things for healthcare. And she talked about her experience. She's a diabetic. So she go to our Woodlands polyclinic. We change the systems, look after the chronically sick, much better. So all chronic sick, because if you are diabetic, as a doctor, we know, I need to see you 3-4 times a year. We can plan it. So we give you appointments ahead of time. And because appointments is given, so long as you come on time, very little waiting time. I know patients complain about waiting in polyclinics, but those are walk-ins, cough and colds, because I don't know when you are coming in. So of course you have to wait. But those with chronic illness, with scheduled appointments, we can more or less, respect the appointments with minimum waiting.